Hello, my marvellous sausages. Now, we've all come across them in our battles throughout the solar system and beyond. You're puttering along nicely, dealing justice to those alien scumbags who are trying to wrench our homes from our grip. Hive, Cabal, Vex, Fallen, Scorn, Taken. We've destroyed them all. Yet sometimes you can't kill them. Well, you can, but very, very slowly. And that is all they need to swarm you and smash your face in and then keep shooting your little orb even though you're already dead, the vicious little gits. Yes, they cheat by using shields. Cheats! So, I thought I'd put together a little guide or masterclass on shields and how to deal with them in all their bloody annoying forms. So, let's deal with the first type of shield that you're going to see absolutely everywhere, elemental shields. Now, these are the easiest to see. You know what I mean? They're the purple void ones, yellow solar, blue arc, and all you have to do to disrupt those babies is shoot them with the corresponding element. So your energy slot here is your best friend, or at least weapons that use green ammo, of course. Power works as well. Now, you plow through the turnips so much quicker if you just prepare yourself accordingly. And then when the shield breaks, it has a damage wave that will injure all surrounding turds, and if they've got matching shield types as well, you'll disrupt them too. Chain reaction-tastic, Morgan Freeman, Keanu Reeves. But there are things to look out for here. Sometimes you might see a modifier called match gain. You see that quite frequently in higher level content, Legend, Lost Sectors, Legend, Empire Hunts, Master this, Master that. It's always there. Now this means that the enemy shields are highly resistant to all but their element. Now you'll also find that your equipment can be locked when you're doing these high level endgame activities, like in a Nightfall or whatever. So if you've picked the wrong elemental weapons, then you're basically buggered and you've got to have to restart with the correct loadout. There are a couple of weapons that you can have that can counter this locked loadout because you can cycle through damage types within them. Now, they are both exotics. First of all, you've got the Hard Light Auto Rifle, which means you can just change damage types whenever you want, which is excellently handy. Or if you want something with a bit more welly, you've got the Borealis Sniper Rifle as well in your second slot, and that also has the ability to cycle elemental types. But sometimes it's really hard to get a certain element to flow with your build. I found that in particular when I was doing a Legend Lost Sector recently to get some sort of void shield damage because I wanted to use solar burn on my power weapon and I couldn't juggle it quite well enough. Well, there is one mod that can come into play here to destroy elemental shields, and that's called Osmosis. Now, it's a very handy little mod that when applied on kinetic weapons, it can be a little skeleton key to unlock success. So how does it work? Well, you just chuck a grenade and then the osmosis weapon becomes that elemental type. Nifty. In this case, my Kinetic 7th Seraph hand cannon is destroying these void shields. Look, very nice and easy. Yes, and that's all for me using the Osmosis perk and just chucking a grenade, a void grenade. The grenade doesn't have to make any kills at all, you just have to bung the bloody thing, which is very, very handy. Now, this lasts until you die or until you switch weapons. So if you do chuck the grenade, take a few shots and then switch to something else, when you go back to the Kinetic, it won't be applied. So bear that baby in mind, and it's a spiffing little perk. Now, it does roll on plenty of kinetic weapons. It's curated roll on the Buzzard, Shepherd's Watch, and Coldfront, but of course they're quite difficult to come by these days. But you can see most of these kinetic weapons can roll with it. Horror Story from Festival of the Lost last year, Scathelock, Steel Feather Repeater, The Last Breath, Dire Promise, Fatebringer the Time Lost version, Judgment, Loud Lullaby, 7th Seraph, Officer, Revolver, Survivor's Epitaph, Legal Action, Patron of Lost Causes, Servant Leader, that's the new one for this season, The Guiding Sight from Iron Banner, Blasphemer from the Moon, One Small Step from the Moon, Breach Light from Season of Dawn, spoiler alert, that's this season, Praedyth's Revenge, Twice, Shepherd's Watch, Succession Tranquility, Coldfront, and Escape Velocity. Plenty of options, so it's well worth checking your vault to see if you've got osmosis on any of those weapons that you may have hanging about with cobwebs on them. Now, kinetic energy weapons, that's generally a first slot, or at least anything that uses white ammo, does chip away the shield, but very slowly. So remember, kids, prepare your weapons if you know you're going to be facing elemental shielded enemies. Arbalist, which is an exotic linear fusion rifle, is another great option. Now this baby can totally take out most types of shields, sometimes in one hit, although not barrier champion shields. That's an important distinction. Its first trait, called Compounding Force, states that the slug it fires causes massive damage to elemental shields, but then its second perk, Disruptive Break, increases the damage that kinetic rounds can do, so it completely shreds elemental shields and gits who bear them. Now, the next shield type to talk about is barrier shields. Now, these are always used by barrier champions, or Barry servitors, as we like to call them. Barry Servitor and the Bum Pipes. Great band, I recommend you check them out. Now, barrier champions, if they take a certain amount of damage, they will throw up a shield, and then while they're protected, they'll recharge their health. Now, this is, of course, more annoying than watching the news, but we can counteract this by having an anti-barrier mod slotted into our armor, which then allows a certain type of weapon to penetrate that barrier and destroy it. This also has the added benefit of staggering the enemy, which allows you to administer even more kickings, which is marvelous. Each season, these barrier mods apply to different types of weapons. We're currently in Season of the Lost, and it's anti-barrier auto rifles, and that's it at the moment. So, if you purchase that mod, you can stick it on the appropriate piece of armor, and voila, that weapon, no matter what slot you equip it in, will have the anti-barrier effect. This does apply to exotic weapons too, but some exotic weapons have inherent anti-champion abilities, so they don't gel with those. I'm looking at Leviathan's Breath, which has Unstoppable Champion already built into it, so you can't pair those mods up. Now, there are two exotic weapons that have anti-barrier baked into them. Now, those two exotics are Eriana's Vow, which is an energy hand cannon, which is absolutely fantastic. If you're a hunter, pair it up with the Lucky Pants and you'll be delivering enormous kick-ins with it. It's brilliant. And then the other one is the Lament Sword. When you rev that baby up, that also stuns anti-barrier champions. The anti-barrier mods themselves have more uses than just against barrier champions. If you have one slotted in, you can use it first of all to shoot through the knight's shields. You know, they conjure up those shields in front of them. Well, you can just shoot straight through those, which is really great because they try to recharge their health behind those bloody things. And it'll also penetrate taken Vandal bubbles as well, you know, when they pop the bubbles. Thank you, MacGyver, my marvellous sausage, for pointing that out to me. Plus, it can also shoot through Hydra shields as well. Really good for just hammering the damage. Now, other enemies who bung up shields, you've got Cabal, the Phalanxes. There's no weapon to penetrate this shield, unfortunately. However, if you get a critical hit, a yellow wallop right in the center of the shield, it's like a big off button and they're staggered. Bit of a design flaw there with the Cabal, really. They should have put the stagger off button on the other side of the shield, and then we'd never be able to beat them. Hobgoblins have a sort of shield thing where they crouch and then they kind of go immune and then they recharge their health. But if you've got anti-barrier on, you can just shoot straight through that bloody thing and kill them while they're recharging. Excellent. And the final type of shield you only usually find on bosses. It's basically an immune phase. It's a white looking shield and it can't be penetrated by any of our weapons. There's usually a mechanic involved in getting these to drop, either throwing orbs like in the Corrupted Strike or killing certain enemies first in order to make them vulnerable. So that should give you a fair idea of all the types of shields and how to combat them in the game at the moment. There is another entire substrata called Overshields, which applies to our Guardians, but that's an entire video on its own, which I think I will do, actually, so keep an eye out for that one. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a little thumbs up button at the bottom there, and it's called a like. Give that a wallop if you enjoyed this and found it helpful and you like my jibber jabberings. And if you want to see the next time I splap a video out onto the internet, you can click the subscribe button and that notification ding ding as well, and that will let you know when this thing occurs. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall speak to you all again very soon. Sausage at... I don't know what's the matter with me half the time.